Oh, sorry, we are live. I'm sitting here waiting for the button to say we're live, and it's sitting right there going, hey, you're live, you're live, you're live. And this is the Wholesale Real Estate Investing, number 218 by SAHA. And welcome everybody to the Hangout. Welcome the property noodlers. Welcome anybody who's interested in wholesale real estate investing. This is the place where you want to be on a new op day morning at 8:30 a.m. to fill your brain with some amazing information about negotiating, because this is a negotiation new op day. And I'm Paul Romero, hanging out here from kind of windy and gloomy looking Phoenix, Arizona. This one, wow, that tree is just whipping around out there.
Still windy out there?
Huh?
Still windy out there?
Yeah, I was looking at this big old tree just flailing all over the place over there. But yeah, and I got hey, business partner John Leister here. Good day, John.
Hey, welcome to the Hangout, everybody. I'm hanging out here from Phoenix, Arizona. Unfortunately, my blinds are down, so I'm not seeing the weather that we're getting out there, which it actually poured rain pretty hard last night for a little while at least, which is a rare thing in Phoenix, but seems to be getting a lot of that lately, and I just love it. But we're not here on a new op day to discuss the weather in Phoenix. We're here to impart some excellent gold nuggets of wisdom onto you guys that are tuning in who want to learn more about wholesale real estate. What you will notice is that Paul and I spend most of the time on these Hangouts trainings about wholesale real estate by actually discussing mostly how to deal with people, how to become a more successful person by developing better habits and goal setting and personal development. And you might be saying, what in the world? I came in here to learn more about wholesale real estate. And why are these guys talking about a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People? Well, there's a big reason why. And probably the most important thing about wholesale real estate is that it has nothing to do with real estate. It has, but everything to do with marketing and sales. And specifically with the sales, that is you dealing directly with a motivated person who wants to sell their house. And how do you build rapport, gain their trust, get them to say yes, so you can put ink on a piece of paper and carry them through the next 7 to 30 days, whatever it takes to get that deal closed, and keep them on board, because you're not closed on a deal until you're paid on a deal. Signatures are one thing, but a paycheck is another thing. So there's a process involved, and it's a process and a system for building the rapport, dealing with the person, negotiating, all that. And that's the system contained in How to Win Friends and Influence People. And it's probably the most important piece of the puzzle you should learn, especially if you're new and you don't have a team and you're just getting started. You need these skills to become a wholesaler.
100%. A wholesale real estate, like you said, is not about flipping houses. It's about marketing and sales, and it's about relationships and building relationships with people that you work with and people that you're buying from and people that you're selling to, and everybody, so many people. So with this book, as we talk about here, How to Win Friends and Influence People, we're already fairly deep into, we might even be getting close to halfway through this book. Wow, that's pretty cool. Let me just give a quick recap for anybody who hasn't been with us so far, so they can catch up, see where we're at. We've gone through the part 1 of the book, which is the fundamental techniques in handling people, which basically are, you break it down into 3 principles. Don't criticize, condemn, or complain. In other words, don't piss other people off. Give honest and sincere appreciation. In other words, make them feel good. And arouse in the other person an eager want. Get them excited about what you have. That's the trick right there. And then we're into part 2 of the book right now, which is 6 ways to make people like you. And you know what? People will do business with people they like. So this might be kind of important for you to, get more deals if you can have better skills on making people like you. And it's kind of interesting. It says making people like you. Okay. We're not manipulating people, but these are just very simple things that you can do really in yourself that will just naturally draw people into liking you. Okay, so it's not manipulative mind tactics to make people like you. This is just things that you can do and change within yourself that will just naturally attract and draw people towards liking you. Okay, and in here so far we've gone through the first 4 principles, which are: become genuinely interested in other people. In other words, to break that down, listen, actually hear while you're listening. Principle number 2 is smile, because this is that basically says, hey, I like you to start with. Okay. Number 3 is remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. Remembering names, using other person's name, very, very powerful tool. People love to hear their name. And then principle 4 is to be a good listener. Encourage others to talk about themselves. So yeah, how do you become a good listener? You don't do all the talking. You encourage the other person to talk about themselves. That's how you become a good listener. And today we are up to principle number 5, which is, I'm not going to read the principle because that's going to give away the, but the title of the chapter here is how to interest people. Okay, and there's a principle behind this chapter.
Okay, Paul. So I did miss last week's hangout. We are actually on chapter 5 of this part of the book.
I believe so.
All right. Oh, yes. You know what? Why don't we kick this off? I have some things underlined just in the first couple paragraphs alone. So chapter 5, how to interest people. Let's see how to do this. I'll go ahead and I'll read the first chapter.
Yeah.
Not the whole thing, the first paragraph.
Because that's the part that usually gives it all away, isn't it?
Yeah. Everyone who was ever a guest of Theodore Roosevelt was astonished at the range and diversity of his knowledge. Whether his visitor was a cowboy or a rough rider, a New York politician or a diplomat, Roosevelt knew what to say and how it was done. The answer was simple. Whenever Roosevelt expected a visitor, he stayed up late the night before, reading on the subject in which he knew his guest was particularly interested. For Roosevelt knew, as all leaders know, that the royal road to a person's heart is to talk about the things he or she treasures most. Well, there you go. The first paragraph's always give away the entire chapter.
So that's it right there. Chapter's over. I mean, that's the whole story right there. We're done. That's it. God, thanks for coming. Glad to see you here today. We'll be back here next new. No, I'm just kidding. But no, that's what's great about this book is, I mean, right there in the first chapter, boom, lays it all out, clean and simple, enough to understand right there, and that's it. The principle of this book is probably obviously something about, having knowledge about what the other person is interested in, or being able to talk about what the other person is interested in. And that's what it is. I mean, how many things do you want to talk about that I'm interested in right now? Okay, you don't want to talk about anything that I'm interested in. Only reason you're here watching this hangout is because you're interested in how to negotiate people better. Okay. So it doesn't matter what I'm interested in. I'm interested in lots of different things, but I'm here giving you information on how to negotiate with people, and that's what you're interested in, and that's why you're here. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. So, I mean, it's just that simple. Look at it that way, put yourself in the other guy's shoes and say, okay, what's this guy interested in? And that's kind of a cool thing to have in your mind as and wholesale real estate is, it's kind of high pressure. It's kind of fast paced. And a lot of the stuff that we're talking about here in this book, when you are approaching a seller, especially for the first time, and you're meeting at their house, and you knock on the door, you know, you've talked to them on the phone already or whatever, but now you're going to meet them at the house and you knock on their door, you know, you can, if you're thinking about this right here and you're like, what's this guy interested in? I mean, by the time you knock on the door, you can grab a couple of things. You're like, okay, well, he's got a Toyota in the driveway, so he's interested possibly in, you know, foreign-made vehicles opposed to American-made vehicles. I see 3 garden gnomes over there. Okay, so maybe they're interested in some gardening. Got a couple little clues right there, quick right away. Guy opens the door, you can see over their shoulder, you know, whatever. Maybe you can see, maybe you see a wall full of books. Hey, these people are interested in reading. Boom, you got 3 quick tips right there. And you know, these little tips and signs are things you need to be picking up on, you know, right away. Have your eyes peeled, be looking for this stuff and utilize it, capitalize on it, jump on this stuff. As John talked about in a hangout before, his program for talking to people is, I'm here for 1 hour, and the first 45 minutes, we're not talking about the deal. Okay, what are we talking about? We better be talking about something that they're interested in.
You know what? That is so true, and that's the way to connect. Paul, you basically laid out my secrets right there. You look past the door for a family picture or a calendar with cars. That's one of my little things. I look for like people's calendars because people usually have some sort of picture on the calendar, you know, above the actual calendar. It's like dogs or cars is a popular one, motorcycles. And I don't really know much about cars and motorcycles, but I know how to ask questions and get them talking about what it is they're interested in. And, you know, I've had enough conversations with people over time to fake it, sort of, by asking them questions and getting them talking. You know, but again, this chapter is all about how to interest people. And yeah, the royal road to people's hearts is to talk about the things that he or she treasures most. And if Paul doesn't mind, I was reading ahead a little bit here, Paul, and I think this next story is a great one to share because I love the illustrations in these chapters. And this is an essayist and a professor of literature at Yale named William Phelps, who's relaying a story about when he was 8 years old and he was spending a weekend visiting his Aunt Libby at her home in Stratford on the Housatonic. He wrote in his essay on human nature, a middle-aged man called one evening, and after a polite skirmish with my aunt, he devoted his attention to me. At this time, I happened to be excited about boats, and the visitor discussed the subject in a way that seemed to me particularly interesting. After he left, I spoke of him with such enthusiasm. What a man! My aunt informed me he was a New York lawyer and that he cared nothing whatever about boats, that he only took a slight interest in the subject. And then he asked, but why then did he talk all the time about boats? To which she replied, because he is a gentleman. He saw you were interested in boats and he talked about the things he knew would interest and please you. He made himself agreeable. You know, and that's what we're doing. We're in sellers' homes. When I say I look at a calendar, if I see people with a calendar with dogs on it, I have a dog, so I start talking about my dog, and that interests them. They go, oh, he's a pet lover. I see that in their eyes, and then I turn around and I ask them about, oh, do you have any dogs? And then right there could be the 45-minute conversation. But they like me because I'm interested in what they're interested in, which is dogs. I really don't care that much about dogs. Ask Paul. I hate my dog.
You know, that's I've had some pretty awesome dogs in my lifetime, but I've only had what, 2 or 3 dogs ever. But but some really awesome dogs in my lifetime that I could talk about any one of them at any point in time. I don't have any dogs right now, but doesn't mean I don't love dogs. Now, if I see somebody, am I a cat lover? No, not particularly. We've had cats in my lifetime, but nothing that was of my doing. And you know what? If we saw a calendar with kitties on it, would I be like, oh, I hate cats. I ain't talking about cats with this old crazy old lady, right? Would I be doing that? No. I would not do that. I'd be like, oh, you like cats? Oh, well, hey, instead of, I would be like, hey, wow, I see the picture of those cats, don't I hear some kittens meowing somewhere, or whatever it is, or I see some cat toys on the ground. Where's your cats at? Don't they like people, or do they just sleep all day long, or just some random fact? I mean, those are two things that I know about cats right there. Okay, they don't like people and they sleep all day long. So I mean, I can start a conversation with those two questions right there. Hey, where's your cats at? Are they don't like people, or are they just sleep all day? Boom, they're talking about their cats right there. And I'm not a cat guy.
And it's funny. We could probably blast right through this chapter and go right through more examples of that concept being put into action in this book. We can share real life examples. I mean, it's such a simple concept. It comes down to when you're trying to make a sale and you're negotiating with somebody, it is about you, because what do you want to do? You want to get paid at the end of the day. You want to get paid, though. You can't make it about that. You can't make it about you. You get what you want by making it about the other person. And this is just another simple way to do that, is you show an interest in them. Try to figure out something they're interested about and get them talking about that. Because as it said, that one example, the William Phelps example, is that the reason the guy was talking about boats is to make himself interesting and pleasing to the other person and make himself agreeable. Puts you in a space to identify with that person.
Yeah, exactly. And the whole thing about how is this? Okay, great. I go into somebody's house and we talk about their cats or their dogs or their boats or their cars or their planes or their trains or whatever it is, and we're talking about, but how's that going to help me get this deal? Well, number one, always remember that people are going to work with people who they like, feel they know, and trust. You get talking about, personal things, their own personal stuff, they're going to feel like they know you. They're going to start to like you because they can talk to you about their own personal stuff, and then they're going to and they're going to trust you. They're going to trust you to open up about their personal stuff that is most dear to them, that is the most uncomfortable subject for people to talk about, and that's their finances. And the reason why you're here at this person's house to buy a property at a discount price is because there's probably some kind of financial problem, and that's a tough thing for people to open up to. So you get them to open up to something else, something that's easy and comfortable for them. They get a feeling of knowing you. They get a feeling that they like this guy, that we can talk about anything, that I can open up to this guy, that I can trust this guy with opening up about my finances. That's the point. Okay.
Exactly. There's another little story here in the book. I'm not going to read it verbatim, but I'll give you the gist of it. There was a guy named Mr. Chalif, and he went to go see someone about getting some money to donate to the Boy Scouts of America. And he had heard a story about this guy he was going to visit, how he recently had just wrote out a check for $1 million, and that he was so proud of being able to do this that after the check had canceled, he had the check put in a frame in his office. So this Mr. Chalif guy, knowing this guy just recently wrote this $1 million check out, and that he was so proud of the moment that he framed the check in his office, when he went to go see him, the first thing he did when he sat down with the guy was ask him about the check. So I heard you just recently wrote a check for $1 million. I've never seen a check for $1 million. I would love it if you could show me the check. I would love to tell my boys that I saw a check that was written for $1 million. And the guy, what do you think the guy did? He already had it framed. So of course. And then the next thing Mr. Chalif did was ask him about, well, would you mind sharing your story about some of your successes and, what you did to be able to earn such a payday and be able to write such a large check? And the guy gladly shared his story. And that's how he opened up his conversation with this guy. And did you notice that at this point, he never brought up anything about his organization or why he was there, or anything about getting a donation or anything about the Boy Scouts of America. It's because he knew better. He knew the first thing to do was to go in and immediately talk to that person about something that they would find flattering to them, and that they'd want to talk about, and that they have a lot of interest in. And that's the secret here. And that's the basic concept that Paul and I are saying you incorporate into your negotiations. Is if you have a 1 hour with that client, you don't start by talking about the deal. You start by talking about something they're going to be interested in. And we're employing that, and it's a home run for us every time. It's very rare that I would sit in someone's living room to make an offer on a home and I'm rejected anymore. And it's because I don't just talk about the offer on the property. I talk about them.
Yeah. That's it's the shortest, probably the shortest chapter in the book. It's only 5 pages. It's not even 5 pages. 1, 2, 3. It's really 4 pages. It's on 5 pages, but it's really only 4 pages of words. And I'm just gonna jump right over to throw out, what the basic principle of this chapter is. I mean, it's only 5 pages because this is something that should be very easy for you to understand. I mean, you should be able to get this just like that. I mean, what we've just told you here about this, the whole idea about talking about something that the other person is interested in, something that's easy for them to talk about, something that they can open up about, something that will help them to feel comfortable with you, something that will help them to get to feel like they like you and like they know you and like they can trust you, so you can get into the meat, to the nitty-gritty, to the difficult conversation of talking about their financial issues. That's what this is all about here, really. And I mean, obviously, just like John was talking about in that example right there, not necessarily that's for wholesale real estate, but with anybody, whatever the meat and potatoes is of what your conversation is all about, this is where you get people opening up about things that they like, so that then you can get into the nitty-gritty of whatever that is that you're going towards. So, I mean, the basic principle of this chapter here is just to talk in terms of other people, of the other person's interest. And that's it. Just talk in terms of the other person's interest. Put your interest aside to start out with. I know you've come here because you're interested in buying this person's house. Put that aside. Talk about something the other person is interested in first. Get all those happy juices flowing, then get down to the nitty-gritty, and they're ready. It's they say you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Well, if you don't get the horse feeling good about the whole thing, yeah, you're not going to drink it. But if you get him feeling good about it, freaking horse will just walk right into the pond and lap it up.
And it's just to kind of cap off the example that I shared from the book with the guy, Mr. Chalif, who was speaking to the guy to elicit a donation for the Boy Scouts of America. He started off talking about the guy's check, and then the result was the man that he was interviewing turned to him after talking a while about the check and how he earned it, and asked him, well, what is it that you wanted to see me about? And so Mr. Chalif told him why he was there. And right here, I'll read directly from the book. Mr. Chalif continues, to my vast surprise, he not only granted immediately what I asked for, but much more. I had asked him to send only 1 boy to Europe, but he sent 5 and myself, gave me a letter of credit for $1,000, and told us to stay in Europe for 7 weeks. He also gave me letters of introduction of branch presidents, putting them at our service, and he himself met us in Paris and showed us the town. Since then, he has given jobs to some of the boys whose parents were in want, and he is still active in our group. And then I just kind of put a note in here for myself. Warm people up before the pitch. That's why this guy got what he wanted. He warmed the man up to him by simply showing an interest in what he was interested in, and ultimately results in getting everything he wanted out of the reason he visited the guy in the first place. Hence why when I walk into somebody's house, I know that in 1 hour, I'm confident enough to know I'm walking out of there with ink. But if I don't do my program, I'm not going to get that signature. And this book, that chapter in particular, this is my program.
Yeah, and when you're doing that too, I'm not sure if you've experienced this at all yet, John, but you may find that somewhere right around that 45-minute mark, the other person might actually even be the one to initiate the reason why you're there. And the person sitting across the table from you or on the couch or whatever, they might actually be the one that says, okay, so let's get down to this house, John. What do you think? What can you do for me? You know what I mean?
And you know what it's like that 90% of the time, and 90% of the time, because I got the people talking so much about themselves, they're actually bring it up and they're like apologetic. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I've been talking this whole time. We should get down to the real estate stuff. And I love that because now they're like apologizing to me like they wasted my time, completely played into my hands, And I always like to respond to that by saying, oh, you know what? You're right. Let's get down to business because I love talking to people and I can talk about let's say it was those. I could talk about dogs with you all day. You're right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry too, because I can talk. So let's get down to business. And guess what? They love me.
Yeah. At that point, right? Yeah. Oh no, not your fault at all. I'm the blabbermouth myself, and I can sit here and talk about dogs all day long, and and then you make them feel good. Oh well, that's okay. I didn't offend him. I haven't taken up too much of his time. You got to keep them feeling good. Even though they brought that conversation up, there's another little piece there. Got to keep that feeling up, that good feeling up, and then get right into the meat and potatoes there. And next thing you know, like you said, 15 minutes to basically lay out your offer and run through the contract and sign the pages. And well, it's been a great day. I thank you so much for having me over here, and can't wait to get this taken care of for you and come back here and get you your money, and we can talk about little Spike there a little bit more. leave them wanting a little bit more as well too. And,
exactly.
Wow, this chapter, this half hour went quick.
Yeah, and we actually finished the chapter. I want to point out something that's pretty cool. For those of you who are stumbled into this hangout, you really do need to send leave us a comment below. Maybe send us a private message at thepropertynoodles@gmail.com and give us your information so we can invite you to these things. There's some cool features here. If you've got the YouTube app on your phone, and typically your YouTube account will be linked through your Gmail. I do believe you need a Gmail account in order to participate in a live hangout. However, if you do have a YouTube account, though, you can watch. And you need actually a Gmail to have a YouTube account. So you see how it goes here, people? So if you have a YouTube account, what's cool is go ahead, send us your information. When Paul sends out the invites, you get a nice little reminder. Well, you can't see it on here, but you get a nice little reminder to your phone, say, YouTube, and it says live streaming Paul and John. So you can get live updates and invites to the Hangouts through your smartphones, which is kind of a cool feature, and also reminders to your emails and stuff like that. We're not going to spam you or send you a bunch of crap, just an invite to come join us on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. We talk about this awesome book every Monday, and then Wednesday is about wisdom, and Friday is about freedom. So you get great information from us 3 days a week. So go ahead, send us an email, and I'm going to toss it back over to you, Paul. Final thought, and go ahead and close us out for the day.
Yeah, and with that email, especially if you'd like to participate in the Hangout, if you'd like to actually receive an invite that you can join in with us, and we can bring you into the conversation, and you can put your 2 cents worth in at some point in time throughout the Hangout here. We'd love to get a little bit more of you guys on here, just putting in the, joining us here in this mastermind session, because you know what? You might have a whole different perspective that you can bring into this that's going to give something to me and John that we would never find otherwise without you. And we're wide open to that power that rolls in with the whole mastermind concept there. So yeah, we'd love to have you in there. Send us an email, propertynoodlers@gmail.com, obviously. Also, propertynoodlers@gmail.com. You have any questions, information about wholesaling? I do have to say that, I don't go to that website or that email address every day, so you will get a response, but give us a few days. We'll get back to you. No worries. And, anybody that we, of course, get an interaction started with, then basically you'll get something more than just a few days. But between new interactions, sometimes I don't go there all the time. So anyway, just giving you a heads up. Don't be discouraged if you don't hear from us for a couple days. But anyway, with that, O universe, I ask not for more riches, but for more wisdom, with which to make better use of the riches given to me at birth, consisting of the power to control and direct my own mind to talk about what other people are interested in and the means that I desire. All right, with that, everybody, hey, thanks for being here on New Update, Negotiation New Update. Hope you got some very, very good information out of this. I know you did. And we'll see you back here on Wisdom Wednesday.
Excellent. That was actually